delivery mechanism for America. Everything that is delivered here in this country should be delivered by United States Postal Service. That's the network that has been set up to serve the people in this country. And the organization that's supposed to be facilitating that, the non-for-profit organization, the United States Postal Service, is failing. So we have to sit down and talk about setting up a contract that works, be beneficial to both sides. And if they're not willing to do that, then we're gonna go to arbitration, and we're gonna tell the arbitrator that. What happened this time is they had this long drawn out process, and we end up with this lousy tentative agreement. If this was the best they were going to do, then we should have went to arbitration the first moment we had a chance to do so, which was last summer. So that's the way I feel about that.
Okay, so we had some technical difficulties going on the live. So
really?
Apparently it just kicked on live a few seconds ago, and they didn't get to hear the question. So for those that pop up and just it just the little delay or whatever it was. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to go through the first part again. That's kind of the real deal. That shows you I'm not on the top levels, but we're not gonna go through the first question because you insulted me with the pizza question. And I'm reading all the comments as they coming through. I'm wondering why they're like, well, where is he at? I apologize, Postal family. I have Mike Caref here with me. For some reason it didn't go. All right, we'll start this from the top, not the full thing, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is JH. I apologize, Postal family. I'm going to blame Mike because he's in Chicago and he claims he likes Chicago pizza over New York pizza. So I'm going to blame him for that. Mike Caref, Mr. MC, tell everybody who you are and what it is you do.
All right, everyone. Mike Caref, I'm a letter carrier here in Chicago. Been an official with the National Association of Letter Carriers, first in my branch and then with the National Union for going on almost 15 years now. I started delivering mail in 1994, so right now I'm about 50-50 delivering mail and working full time for the union. So I told Brother Jay that I'll be more than willing to come on and answer any questions. Let them grill me. I feel that, I'm a candidate for president of the NALC. The election won't be until 2026, but I feel that any member should have the opportunity to, ask any questions, to vet the candidate, to see what they like, what they don't like, ask the hard questions, ask harder questions, that kind of thing. I work for the members of the union. So I'm going to make myself available over the next year and a half up until nominations. Matter of fact, I'm lining up right now, and I have a lot of commitments to go around the country, different cities, different branches when they're having meetings or events and stuff like that. I'm going to come out. So I'll post all that up probably in a couple of weeks now. And then if there's other places you guys want me to come out to, we'll add those in, and I'll go in. Go in where you guys want me to go or need me to go, so that you will have a chance to hear from me directly, and you will have a chance to ask questions and that. So that's the plan, brother. But here we got whatever time you need. I'm here, man. So you said people might be able to call in and ask questions. You have questions. I'm here.
Yes.
I'm available.
I like it. I like that. I invited somebody else on, but I don't think he has time for the small people. That's okay though. That's okay. I apologize, Postal family. We went through a whole question. I thought it was live streaming and technical issues, but I'm learning. That's the key. So I'm gonna start from the top again. I got a few questions to ask Mike, and once I'm done asking Mike the questions, please feel free. I will be giving a number for you all to call in. Obviously, we can't take 30 calls. We'll take about 5 tops, and just obviously be respectful. And I'm gonna try my best to be as respectful as I can. But my job is to ask the hard questions. That's kind of my thing. If you don't know anything about me, sir, my family is full of carriers. My sister, my son, my daughter, cousins. I got people everywhere in the Postal Service, so it touches me pretty deep. because my Christmas doesn't look like it used to. They used to get me nice gifts. Now I'm getting the ties and stuff again. Yeah, we got to get the pay rates up here.
Yes, we
Um,
do.
yeah, absolutely. So here's my first question for you. Um, if and when you're elected national president, how do you plan to negotiate better terms for letter carriers in the next national agreement, given the widespread dissatisfaction with the current one? Now, I understand that there are some regulations, and other people may understand that there are things that go on behind the scenes, but truly, once you're in that position, you got to kind of give a little to take a little. So talk to me.
Yeah, I think, man, I think they call it collective bargaining for a reason. And I think if the Postal Service is being honest with themselves, then they will have to admit that what they're doing is not working. And prior to even starting negotiations, either directly with the Postal Service, with the Postmaster General, with the Board of Governors, with congressional oversight, you have to get to the point where, hey, this is not working, and now let's sit down and figure out what's a model that can work. The fact that the job is no longer desirable to the general public is a problem. It's not just a problem for us, it's a problem for the Postal Service. They're not getting a lot of good applicants. They're not able to retain employees. They're not able to provide dependable service to the American people. And when they are providing that service, they're providing it at a higher cost because they don't have the right staffing that they should have. Therefore, they're paying out a lot of overtime, penalty overtime. That costs them a lot of money. They're not retaining employees, so there's a lot of turnover. Every time they hire someone new, they got to train them, go through that whole process again. That costs them a lot of money. So if you start from a place of, look, this is not working, let's work together to come up with something that can work and then figure out how we're going to implement that. I mean, on our end, obviously the pay has to go up drastically. And then there's a lot of things with the working conditions and the work rules that need to change. And so if you get them to a point where they're working with you and not against you, then I think we can be productive with a lot of things. I'll just give you a small example, and it's not a major contractual issue, but it becomes a sticking point for people when they try to transfer. And if you look at it from the Postal Service point of view, why do they care if a letter carrier goes and fills a vacancy in another letter carrier position someplace else in the country? They've already hired that person. That person already works for United States Postal Service. Why do they care? But the rules right now, they're so hard to navigate. They're archaic. There's language in there that existed 30, 40 years ago. There really isn't even a form. Like if two carriers want to swap positions, it should be like, okay, go ahead, but there's not really a form for that. We're constantly filing grievances, which cost the Postal Service money because then they got to defend that grievance. They got to pay people to handle that grievance and have to pay an arbitrator. And it's like, okay, let's just sit down and come up with some reasonable transfer rules that will work and that will keep your employees satisfied. Because if you have a career employee that's a professional letter carrier and they move their family to Las Vegas or something, then they should be able to move their job with them. It's a federal United States Postal Service. So that's just one example, but there's tons of examples like that in the contract where the contract really doesn't work for either side. And I think, and I hope that, and like I say, if you start having these negotiations and they're not listening to you, you got to get some outside influence. And maybe that outside influence is the Board of Governors. Maybe that outside influence is Congress, but somebody has to, if they're not willing to admit it, tell the Postal Service what you're doing is not working. Your labor relations is horrible.
Okay. I respect that answer. So do you think that the current president has tried that method?
I don't. So a little history, and your listeners can go back to from the 8 Arbitration Podcast, episode 88. I went on the podcast 3 days prior to our start of negotiations. We started negotiations way back in another lifetime, right. February 22nd of 2023. I went on the podcast February 19th of 2023, and I was trying to lay out plan and a vision similar to what I was, just kind of espousing to you just a few minutes ago. And, the president called me in his office and, he didn't like the approach I was taking for a few different reasons. And basically he did and wanted to take the approach that kind of we've always taken. And, maybe that approach worked well for us in some other time frame. But in this period that we're in, we took a big hit. We, the letter carriers, took a big hit with the DOS award, which was 3 contracts ago. We got it January 10th of 2013, and 2 contracts subsequent to that where we've kept the non-career classification, where we kept the Table 2 pay chart, which has a much lower starting pay, which has, it takes much longer to get to the top. The Table 1 pay chart was way better. The career workforce obviously was much better than having a non-career, at least starting as a non-career employee. So we've not been doing well in our recent contracts. And if you want something to change, something's got to change. And I think that the president took more of a, let's just keep doing what we're doing kind of thing. And that, anyway, you see the results. They were not very good.
All right. So in your opinion, what do you like about the current tentative agreement? And if you had the opportunity at this specific moment, what would you change immediately prior to submitting a second proposal?
Well, we're not going to submit a second proposal. Basically, once we vote the TA down, which I hope everyone does, we voted down, it's a clean slate. You really don't start from anything. Like those negotiations failed. Now you got to take it to a neutral arbitrator to determine the terms of the contract. But there's a couple of things in there that are good. I think the main thing in there that's good is the elimination of AA, A, and B steps in the chart, which under the terms of the tentative agreement would take place 180 days from ratification. And that moves the starting pay up by about $4 an hour. Incidentally enough, clerks, under level 6 of the APW contract are already at $27.28 for the career clerks. And even though it's a big increase of like $4, it would still be less than the clerks, which is a big sticking point for most letter carriers because, if I'm injured and I can't go out and deliver my mail, they give me light duty work inside and it's clerk work. It's like, no offense to our brothers and sisters that are clerks, but we think that if the clerks make this, we should be making, a level higher or 2 level higher or whatever, and that's only fair. But at least it would close the gap from where it is right now. And then the other thing with that is like a little known fact, but I don't know how long you've been around, but I'm assuming that when you started as a PTF.
I'm a tractor trailer operator. I was.
You guys don't have PTF?
I started as a PSE.
Okay.
We had PSEs. So I was a PSE first, then PTF.
Then PTF. Okay. So when you were a PTF, there's an annual salary and it's divided by, normally it would be divided by 2,080 hours to determine your hourly salary as a PTF. Traditionally, the holidays would be prorated and built into your hourly salary. Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
In our current contract, they're not.
Really? You know what?
Yeah,
I noticed that. I noticed that. So like your PTFs, your CCAs go from like 19 and some change just to like 20 and some change, or 21.
It's right now it starts at 2213, but the 2213 is not. So if you took the step A pay and divided it by, you would divide it by 2080 to get to the 2213, but you should be dividing it by 1992 because you should be taking out those 88 hours, which are holiday pay, and spreading them out. And if you did that, it would be about $1 an hour more. Instead of 2213, it'd be like 23 or something like that. But the terms of the contract right now say that when you start as a PTF, you don't get that holiday pay built in. So in the terms of the tentative agreement, it does get rid of the first 3 steps. The starting step would be step C. So it reduces the amount of time it would take to get to the top from C up to step P. All that is for the good. The starting pay is 26, which is still a little bit low, but it's a lot better than what it has been. And it does get rid of that thing with the PTFs not getting the holidays. The PTF pay would be calculated based on 1992 hours, not based on 2080 hours. So
Wow.
all that is for the good. That part right there is the best part of the tentative agreement, and really probably the only good part of the tentative agreement. There's really nothing else in there that's substantially, good. And there's a whole lot that's just bad in there after that.
Okay. Okay. So realistically, there are financial pressures on the Postal Service at this specific moment. And obviously, we're not supposed to be looking at, actually, you guys are not supposed to be looking at, even APWU is not supposed to be looking at the financials when it comes down to what, the Postal Service has going on. But what would be your proposals for improving cost efficiency without compromising service quality or employee benefits or loss of employee jobs? So this is where you got to give something to get something. You know what I mean? Because they're going to say, well,
Yeah.
it costs a little bit, so we'll give you this, but what are you willing to sacrifice on, that the carriers may not like?
Yeah, I don't know before we get there, and we may get there at some point, what you're saying, but before we get there, we're going to make the post office do the things that would save them money. And there's a lot of things in there. They're spending millions and millions in the grievance procedure right now due to the rampant non-compliance that's going on. And we file repetitive grievance, they pay out. Just think about a standard overtime grievance, Article 8. If they assign the overtime to somebody who's not on the list and the person who was on the list was supposed to get that overtime, then they got to go back in the grievance procedure, not only pay the steward for their time and however long this grievance goes on, but then they got to pay the person that should have got the work at the appropriate rate of pay, overtime penalty rate of pay.
Right.
And a lot of times, due to the repetitive issue of it, we're getting additional remedies that they got to pay either to the local union or to those carriers. And, that money stacks up. So that's a big pile of money that they're just straight wasting because they're not forcing their supervisors and managers and postmasters to follow the terms of the contract. It's got to be a prerequisite. You want to be in a supervisory position with the United States Postal Service. They have to tell that person, look, we're giving you a promotion here, but coming with that promotion is you're going to have to figure out how to manage within the terms of our contract that we have with our employees. And that's going to get you better managers, and that's going to save you money. So that's a pot of money. The amount of money due to the staffing issues, because the pay in the environment in the post office is so bad, the staffing issues are rampant all in like almost every post
Everywhere.
office in the country.
Right.
And they're paying out tons of, you probably remember or, can talk to family where they'll tell you penalty overtime was a bad word. It was like you were cussing at somebody.
Yeah.
Now it's rampant. I don't know what the numbers are, but the amount of money that's being wasted. So there's a lot. Those are two big pots of money: the grievance procedure, the amount of money that's being wasted due to the staffing issues, and then here's the thing that I think we really need to look at, and that is how much money is the Postal Service spending on this unnecessary supervision. So we probably have twice the amount of management, over us than we've had at any time in the past. And that management, we're craft employees. We're governed by the handbook M41. We're trained, through the carrier academies and through the OJIs and all that. We're a craft. We have a job, similar like if you're a tractor trailer operator, you have a job, you have rules of the road, you have something you learned, a skill, and you do it. No other craft has to, you think about like a plumber. A plumber doesn't go, do a job and someone's looking over their shoulder telling them, oh, this looks like a 30-minute job to me. This looks like you could have done this one already. Or I think this is going to be this kind of pipe or whatever. It's ridiculous the amount of monitoring and supervision, and all it is harassment. Because if I tell you the damn thing is going to take if I tell you how long it's going to take me to deliver this mail, that's how long it's going to take me. You harassing me and coming out there and interviewing me and, just all these things that they do is a complete waste of money on their end. And it really makes the situation worse because it puts a bad feeling. Nobody wants to do a kind of job like that where you're constantly being harassed. So we really need to get the amount of supervision down, which would save the Postal Service a lot of money. And so you take all this money that they're saving and then they can pay us a decent salary. That's the way we look at it.
Okay. All right. So how do you plan to vote on the NALC tentative agreement? And what are your decisions for what are your reasons for this decision?
Yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer, man. Similar to what your shirt says. To me, that's a clear vote no. And we're right now, we're in mobilization mode. The ballots will start coming out as of tomorrow. The balloting committee is meeting in Washington, D.C. They send the ballots out. They will start sending them to the West Coast first and then to the East Coast. So maybe by the end of the week, over the weekend, next week, people will start to have, they'll have their ballots and, it's time to vote no. To me, this is easy. I did a 3-part video series. If you go on YouTube, everything with me is Caref for Prez. CAREF, the number 4, PREZ. So the website is carefforprez.org. Facebook is Caref for Prez. YouTube is Caref for Prez. TikTok is Caref for Prez, whatever, right? So if you go on YouTube and look up the 3-part series and kind of, it takes you an hour to get through the 3 of them, but it's very comprehensive on how the pay doesn't keep up with the rate of inflation and how what we set out. I got video from President Renfro saying, here's what we're going to accomplish in this round of collective bargaining when they started negotiations with the Postmaster General. So I'm playing the video and I'm saying, look, here's what the man said and here's what we got. And what we got is not what he said, Right. So the contract doesn't, the tentative agreement, doesn't solve our basic needs. It doesn't keep up with the rate of inflation. It doesn't solve a whole, part 2 is about all these other issues we're having that the contract doesn't address. And then part 3 is like, hey, we can do better at arbitration. The law is on our side. Our brothers and sisters went out on strike in 1970 to pave the way for us to have a neutral arbitrator determine the terms of our contract based on pay that is comparable to what they're making in the private sector of the economy of the United States. And the UPS drivers are making a ton more money than we're making right now. And if we go to arbitration, we really can't do no worse than where we're at. So we developed a vote no pledge card, which is like a tool that any organizer that wants to can use. And what you do is you just share it electronically. You just copy the link. You share it via text message, through Facebook, through email, however WhatsApp or whatever. And you share that and have all the people.
What is the name of your site again?
The site is carefforprez.org, man. And you go, there's a whole section under vote no.
Is that PREZ?
Yes. CAREF, the number 4, PREZ.org. But the vote no pledge card, I hope, is a good tool for you guys. And what I told them, we had a meeting with the organizers this morning, and I told them if they want that information of the people that have pledged to vote no, either within their branch or within their city, within their station that they work at, just send us a message. And the email address is Gmail, carefforprez@gmail.com. Everything's carefforprez. So if you send us an email and say, hey, send me the vote no pledges from Indianapolis, send me the vote no pledges from this branch or whatever, we'll send them to you. And then you'll have all of their phone numbers. You can contact them. You guys can do like a little thing at work before work. You could do a little thing at break time. A lot of people are getting together, taking a picture with their shirts. If they have a shirt like you, or they have a sign, or, they're just going like this or whatever, but like I said, we're in full mobilization mode right now. It's been a long time since the letter carriers have gotten fully mobilized and energized. And this is a time where most carriers look at this tentative agreement and they say, no, we're worth more than this. And we're going to have to fight for that. we're going to have to fight to get this contract voted down and force our union to go to arbitration and fight for a better contract.
So why do you think interest arbitration could benefit or potentially harm the members? Do you
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that,
no,
do you think there's a possibility
think where
that
you're
it could
going with
hurt?
this is interest arbitration always is a risk, right? You don't know what you're going to get. Like I said before, it's a clean slate, so you can get whatever. But the legal parameters are set, and the legal and matter of fact, in the last APW contract that went in front of a neutral arbitrator, Arbitrator Goldberg. Arbitrator Goldberg shot down the Postal Service's argument about their finances, and he said the law says what it says. I'm not going to override the statutory provisions, just because you want to argue about the finances. The law was not written based on the finances. The law was written because these people had went out on strike and they didn't want another strike. And they said, okay, we're going to change the law. We're going to make sure that you guys can negotiate a contract directly with your employer, the newly formed United States Postal Service. And if that doesn't work, you're going to go in front of a neutral arbitrator, and the standard is going to be comparability to the pay and benefits in the private sector of the economy of the United States. That's written into the law. That's what the neutral arbitrator really has to follow in making a determination on what they think the pay and benefits should be. And then you look at what do we have right now versus what could we get. So there's some examples in there. You look at the CCA classification. Now, we want an all-career workforce. And I'm not saying if we go to arbitration, we'll get an all-career workforce, but we can't do no worse than what we got in this tentative agreement. So what we have right now is CCAs that are paid $19.33. The pay raises for CCAs in this tentative agreement don't even keep up with the rate of inflation. They're much lower than the rate of inflation, as a matter of fact, because CCAs don't even get a cost of living increase. They get a 2.3% raise in each year of the contract, but the rate of inflation has been much higher than 2.3% over the past 3, 4, or 5 years. So CCA pay is probably down. It is down versus the rate of inflation, and there's no improvement in the classification. So like last contract, we got it capped at 2 years. And a lot of us thought, okay, well, this contract, we'll get it down to 1 year. After 1 year as a non-career employee, you're going to become a career PTF. And that didn't happen. So I'm saying we really can't do any worse than what the CCA pay and the length of time and everything is right now. If we go to arbitration, the pay charts, we have 2 pay charts. You got table 1 and table 2. Table 1 is the old pay chart. They consolidated the charts, right? But they consolidate them to benefit the employer, not to benefit us. The old pay chart, table 1, had a much higher starting pay. A lot of the raises were front loaded, and the cost of living allowances were applied equitably, meaning that if it was $1,000 cost of living, everybody got a $1,000 raise in table 1. In table 2, those cost of living allowances are prorated. The pay is much lower to start off with, and it takes a long time to get to the top. So if you look at that and we go to the arbitrator and we say, we think we should all be consolidated into table 1, and the Postal Service says, no, we should consolidate everyone into table 2. Even if they win that argument, which is the worst case scenario, we're exactly where we're at right now, because in this tentative agreement, they consolidated everyone into table 2, not table 1. And then the last thing, when you're comparing your pay, I look at the clerk pay as the floor, because even in the APW pay scale, as you know, you got level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, right? If the clerks are at level 6, letter carriers have to be at 7 or 8. We can't be 6 or 5, if you're comparing that. And there was even a national award in 1999, the Fleischie Award, that said that letter carriers should be a level higher than what clerks are. So if you look at what UPS drivers are getting as your top, and you look at what clerks are getting under the APW contract, we're going to come somewhere in between there if you put it in front of an arbitrator. And where we're at right now like I said, in the starting pay is not even as high as the clerks at level 6. So
Right.
I just don't think we can do any worse at arbitration. Of course, it's a risk, but to me, the bigger risk is that we accept the terms of this tentative agreement, and that becomes the standard for our livelihood as a letter carrier from now all the way into the future, that we codify and we accept and we say, this is good enough for us. And then we try to come back later and say, now it's not good enough for us. And we've already accepted that. I think we have to make a stand, and now is the time to make a stand. I think, the fact that we worked through the pandemic and we never got any hazard pay, and we never got rewarded for the fact that we put our lives on the line. The job has gotten more dangerous out there. And I think there's a lot of reasons why we would be owed a substantial pay raise. And no matter what we get, I think we can get something, but I don't think we can do any worse. That's the way I feel about it.
I like that. I like that. Very, 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 hopefully that's not a political statement that you got going on there. I know you're still carrying mail. So here's my next question for you. I mean, it sounds great. Excuse me. But the one thing that I've noticed is that once people step into that realm and they get up there in Washington, they change. If you, Mr. MC, I like who you are right now, but if you were to become the next president, would you be transparent regarding all major decisions that may impact a carrier's life immediately as well as the future with the same people that put you there? Meaning, if we decided, well, I can't vote for you guys, but if somebody decides to vote for you because they
Your
like
family members.
Yeah, my family members, they put you there, in 7 years, I don't want my daughter coming back to me say, Dad, you had this guy on and we don't know what the hell's going on. He's trash.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell us what's going on. He's just Renfro Part 2. I'm not trying to throw any insults at you, but everybody needs to know these things. They want to know what's the difference between a Mike Caref and a Brian Renfro.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Transparency
And I've been
is
called worse, so that's okay. But I think there's a couple of things. One, absolutely, you should talk to the brothers and sisters. So my position within the union, I'm the national business agent. I've been a national business agent for 10 years. Prior to that, for about 4 years, I was the vice president of branch number 11 in Chicago, which is a full-time union position as well. And you can ask, a lot of our people have transferred to other places around the country, or, you can just ask the people online nowadays, is what type of leadership structure do we run, and how do we make decisions, and what type of dialogue and what type of transparency exists within Region 3, within Illinois. And I think you'll hear positive things, but don't take my word for it. But one thing I do is I meet with the branch presidents in Illinois and other leadership once a week. It's a 5 p.m. touch point. I try to keep it within a half hour. I think last week it went to about 45 minutes, depending on questions and stuff like that. But I'm constantly, one of the big things is keeping everyone informed and getting the feedback from the people that are out there, pounding the pavement. I want to know what the issues are out there and what's going on out there. I represent the members in Illinois to the executive council of the NALC. So when we have an executive council meeting, I need to be able to talk about what our issues are, what our problems are, what our challenges are. And then I want to be able to come back and communicate back to the members in my region, in the state of Illinois. Here's how we're addressing these issues. Here's how we can help you with this or that or whatever. So that's one. Two, I still go deliver my route. I have a route in 22nd Street Station in Chicago. I go out there. This is just something I do. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of union officials that do it. Some other, I'm not the only one that does it, but I'm one of the few that go out there and carry their route. I do it. I just do it once a week, once a year for a week. I'm sorry. That's kind of like all the time I can put aside. I have to take leave from my union position in order to do it. And then I go carry mail, like I say, at least once a year. And it just keeps you grounded, just kind of keeps you in the flow of what's going on. inside of the station, so you don't lose touch with what's going on. But I'm a firm 100% believer. I work for the members of the union, and it offends me when some of my fellow members on the executive council or our president or anyone that's in leadership for the union that doesn't want to tell the members who you represent, who are paying your salary, who are paying your expenses when you fly out to Washington, D.C. to have these meetings. You're not willing to tell them what went down in those meetings, what decisions were made, what the discussion was, what the debate was, well, anything. I work for you. So if you have a question, I'm going to answer it. And even before you ask the question, I'm going to give you all the information that I have. I've always been like that. And I think, like I said, you can kind of check the track record on that.
So you're not going to sugarcoat it for no one, right? Good, bad, ugly, or indifferent.
No, we're a fraternal organization, man. So I believe in having an open discussion. I believe in taking a collaborative approach. I believe in telling you my opinion. But if I'm wrong, we don't have to do that. We could go a different direction. I mean, we're going to talk about how we want to do things together. And there's no way to make a decision if you don't share information. When you withhold information, basically what you're telling the other people in that group is that I don't think you're smart enough to help me make this decision. So I'm not going to tell you all of the things that I know. And then that prevents you from helping and assisting and being part of the decision-making process. I think every member of the union, to some extent or another, should be part of the decision-making process. And that's not always easy to do because people are all over the place, but that's the type of environment we want to have. And that's the type of environment I try to have, and I think I do have, like I say, within my region. And I want to bring that to the entire union so that we're all working together collaboratively. Whether we agree or disagree, we're going to talk about it, but we're going to work together. But we're not going to hide stuff from one another about, how we're going about our business. If I have a meeting with the Postmaster General, I'm going to tell you, what happened. And that's the way it should be. And that goes back to my union steward days, man. If I'm your union steward and I go back in the office and I talk to the boss about whatever issue you're having or we're having, and I don't tell you about it, and I exclude you from that meeting, after a while, you start thinking I'm in cahoots with that, supervisor back there, and you start wondering if I'm representing you or what the hell I am doing back there, right? So it has to be transparent. Communication lines have to be open. And actually, nowadays, the challenge is communicating with people in different ways because people don't read as much as they used to, And so you used to, let's say you'd write a newsletter article or things like that. And those things just don't work as effectively as forms of communication now. But, we're constantly trying to figure out new and better ways to communicate with the members and make sure they're informed. And I believe in transparency. You can trust that. That part you can trust.
That's a good thing because I know for a fact I'm in a little chat group with a bunch of carriers, and their main pet peeve at this moment is that they don't know what's going on. They have zero idea on what the next move is. And a lot of the people on my channel, and just so that they know, we'll get to their questions in a little bit, they don't know when the ballots are coming out. They don't know what their immediate pay raise will be when they get all this mumbo jumbo from your current president. He's talking at one place, he's saying one thing, just like you said. He has some numbers that he's putting out there, but they're not the same thing that's written in a tentative agreement. It tends to, muddy the waters, and people lose faith in their president. So my bonus question to you before we go into the questions from the people in the group, and I'll give you guys the phone number in a minute. If UMC are elected president of the NALC, what specific strategies and changes will you implement at leadership level? You mentioned that you have, the committees and everything, including the vice president, secretary, and various committees, to ensure that all members, not just the old ones, both new and long-standing, feel equally recognized and attended to. Not the CCAs are left out, not the new, the ones that are going to retire get left out. And how do you plan to rebuild trust? They clearly don't trust right now. They're coming to people on YouTube for answers. Don't y'all stop
Right.
coming. How do you plan to rebuild trust
Keep them coming.
among members and foster a culture of inclusivity and transparency within the organization? I've been doing this for 5-6 years now, almost 6 years. And my main thing here was change the culture from management to my fellow coworkers to delivery methods to how we, just approach this job on a consistent basis. I used to be one to say, hey, this job is great. Now people are saying run away from the job. You probably the same thing. When you first got in, you had to go through a whole mission to get in. You had to apply through civil service tests and all this other foolishness. But now, if you're elected and you're up at top, how does everybody feel like they're going to be recognized? People want their voices heard.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think it's an easy answer. I think one thing we can definitely do. Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that 92 to like 90% of letter carriers are voluntarily members of the union. So voluntarily, they say, take this money, every 2 weeks out of my check. To me, that says a lot, and then you look at the participation in, say, union meetings or a union election, and it's way lower. So you're willing for this organization to take your money, but you're not as willing to participate in the same organization. So to me, that's where your problem is at. On the good side, you do have people that want to be a part of it. On the bad side, they're saying, nah, this is not for me. I don't have to actually get involved myself. So, there's a lot of things, and most of the things that are going to be done are going to be on a local level. One of the things I do as the business agent in Region 3 in Illinois is make sure I have a good working relationship with all of the branches and assist them. Let's say they're doing different activities. Let's say they're having issues with grievances or whatever. Having a presence in all the post offices on the workroom floor, making sure the people know that the union is there to help them in any way. I go to all the carrier academies and the orientations, and I give them my card and I say, look, you're going to have union stewards, you're going to have branch leadership presidents, and you have access to the regional office, you have access to the national office in Washington, D.C. But if all else fails, call me, because the buck stops with me. And I want to make sure that whatever your issue is being addressed to the best of our ability. And that if you have a problem, then I have a problem, and we all have a problem. So that type of culture and mentality, that this union is a fraternal organization, it's a group that is going to look out for the interests of every single letter carrier. I think that mentality, starting from the top, would have a big impact on the energy that comes in the lower levels at the post offices and within the branches and stuff like that. And then there's some things, that I want to do structurally, like, that would help the union to function better. So, for example, the executive council of the union, it's not executive and it's not a council. There's very little discussion that's going on of what our challenges are, and there's no committees. Let's say you have an issue of people not wanting to join the union in a particular place, or let's say issue with CCAs or younger carriers are not participating with the union. We could start by just saying, okay, let's form a committee within this executive council to look at it and get some feedback on what the problems are and how we can, come to the next meeting with some suggestions on how we can address this, that we can then talk about and implement. I mean, these are just basic structural things that should happen in any organization, particularly in a fraternal organization, but we don't have it right now. And there's not really a collaborative approach to decision making. When people feel part of something, they want to participate in it. And if you tell them, you don't just tell them they're important, but you show them they're important by involving them in the decision that you're making. And that's what I want to do with the union as a whole. And hopefully that trickles down to, the branches, because the branches, the way the structure of the union is, and probably the APW is the same way, the branches kind of are their own entity. They're all subordinate branches of the NALC. But
Correct.
what that branch does and how they make decisions and that type of thing is really up to them. So you don't have a direct influence, but you do have influence in making sure that they're doing things right, making sure every branch is representing all of their members. I don't hesitate if somebody calls me and says, this particular grievance wasn't filed or this particular issue was not addressed by my local steward or officer. And sometimes the person doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, but I'm going to find out, I'm going to stop everything. I'm going to make a phone call and say, look, are we looking out for this person, whether we like this person or not? This is our brother, this is our sister. We need to make sure that their issue is being handled. And like I say, that type of culture and that type of environment, I think can pay off long term, but it takes a while, man. But honestly, it's time for us in the NALC and probably, like I say, the APW, same way. We need to turn this union and this workplace over to the next generation of letter carriers. And I think that's not something that happens overnight, but that needs to be a process where that's going to happen, because the people that are coming up are going to be the leaders in our organization in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And they need to be prepared to do that. And if you're not giving them any responsibility and you're not helping them out and you're not bringing them into the fold and having them part of what's going on, then they're not going to be able to be successful when it's their time to shine, their time to step forward.
All right. Okay. So there is something about Renfro appointing a committee to monitor and observe the dispatch, the receipt, and tabulation of the ballots in the upcoming ratification election of the proposed, tentative agreement between the NALC and USPS. Is that a conflict of interest, or doesn't it make it easier for him to manipulate the outcome? Or there's a lot of people have questions. Is that something y'all do?
Look, it's a legitimate question, but we talked about this morning on the organizers meeting. I don't think it's something that we should be concerned about. One, the Constitution gives that authority to the president. The president appoints a balloting committee. The only restriction on the balloting committee is that it's got to be one person from 15 people on the balloting committee from 15 different states. And I can tell you and your listeners, one of the people on the balloting committee is my president, Elise Foster, the president here in Chicago. Trust me, she's going to be watching. She's going to make sure that it is done right. And she's not the only one. You look at the names of those 15 people. These are good, dedicated union brothers and sisters. They're going to make sure that the process is done right. We hire a balloting company. The balloting company, you can go look up their reviews. They're accredited by the Better Business Bureau. They got an A+ rating for whatever that's worth. But it's not an overly complicated process. You send out the ballots, you check off, obviously you do it digitally, but you check off who has voted, and then the results are there. And the people on the balloting committee are working with the election professionals that run the balloting company. It's a ballot and survey something. It was posted on the NALC website. The name of the organization that's doing it. They're right outside of Minneapolis. Like I said, you can check them out. They're a public company, and they've run a lot of elections, and they're still in business, which leads you to believe that they kind of know what they're doing. And the people on the balloting committee, they're appointed by the president, but they're members of the union, and I trust that they're going to deliver us a fair election. We're going to get whatever the will of the members is, and I'm definitely pushing for a no vote. But every member has their vote, and I encourage them to exercise that, exercise their right to vote. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna tamp that one down a little bit. That's just my opinion.
People ask those questions.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I gotta ask them as well. I'm gonna go to a couple of these questions here, and I'm gonna give the viewers a chance to give a buzz in and see what they have to say. Anybody that does call in, please be respectful while talking, because we are live and we just if y'all heard me be respectful, y'all got to do it as well. All right. So let's see. Let's see. I got a question here from Yaya. Says, why would you stick around even though you're ready to retire? Are you ready to retire? No, right?
You're talking about me?
Yeah.
No, I'm 49. I will be 50 on February the 2nd. And I will announce to you guys that they're gonna do a roast of me on my 50th birthday. It's gonna be a campaign fundraiser. We're gonna live stream it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But I have to make it to the minimum retirement age, which is 57 at the moment.
Okay.
So I got about 7 years and a couple of months to go here.
Okay. So that was his question. It said, why would you stick around even though you're ready to retire? Why fight for us? All right.
It's all these gray hairs, man.
I ain't got no hair, so don't it's what it is.
I have been in 30 years. I started in 1994, so maybe that's what they're thinking, because I do have 30 years, but I don't have the age to retire.
All right, let's see. What else we got here? I wish I could make my thing. Ask Mike why is okay. Jay, ask Mike why was he asking the same questions in all the rap sessions and if it was all rehearsed. Don't know what that means,
Great
but
question. I know what they mean. I know what they mean. So okay, Jay, I'll tell you and whoever's listening. So after we got the terms of the tentative agreement, so we being the members of the executive council, there's 28 of us, there's 10 resident officers in DC, 3 national trustees, and then 15 business agents. So it's a group of 28, including President Renfro. Now, in the whole contract thing, President Renfro decided to run it the way he wanted to run it, utilize the people that he wanted to utilize, which was, for the most part, people on his staff to engage in the negotiations for the contract. And this whole time is going on, we're waiting. So finally, October the 18th, I think it was, we have a deal. We have a tentative agreement with the Postal Service. We came out to Washington, D.C. on October the 19th, and President Renfro showed us what the terms were. We were seeing it for the first time. He released a summary of tentative agreement onto the NALC website. Everyone saw the same terms. And then he planned 4 rap sessions around the country to disseminate that information in person to the members. And the first rap session was in Houston. The second one was in San Francisco. The third one was in Minneapolis. And the fourth one was in Washington, D.C. And then he told every member of the executive council that we were going to be assigned to go to all of these rap sessions. I froze?
for 1 second.
Are we back? Okay,
Yes.
he told us on the executive council that we were going to have to go to these rap sessions, which was weird because we had no role in the tentative agreement, right? Like, why am I here? And he put us all up on the dais, sitting there, basically kind of co-signing. And what he put on these rap sessions, they were not objective views of the tentative agreement. They were him trying to sell the tentative agreement to the members that were in attendance, because obviously he had negotiated these terms and he thinks that they're good terms and he thinks that the members should vote yes. So he's trying to show us why this is a good tentative agreement. Now, I have my opinion and other people on the executive council may have their opinion. But I never tried to go to the microphone to just argue with him. What I did try to do at each location was go to the microphone and bring up something, either in a question form or in a comment form, that would be to engage the members in further thinking about something that was not being presented by President Renfro. And there was a few things on, to that end. One of them being that the raises didn't keep up with the rate of inflation. So he doesn't put the rate of inflation up on the screen. He just shows you what the raise will be. It's like, oh, we're going to make all this money. Well, if you got a $2,000 raise, but the rate of inflation was $3,000, you actually are making less money, not more money. But so these are the kind of things that I wanted to bring, to everyone's attention. But the first one in Houston, I ended up just waiting to see what the questions were going to come from the audience. The whole thing, is you have a presentation which took like 2-3 hours, and then you have questions that are like another hour. So we're like 4 hours into this thing, and there was one thing that was really troubling me, and it really had just occurred to me that day in Houston, because like I said, we had just got the terms of the tentative agreement. And so we're all trying to digest these things in real time. And that is, we have something called the all career model in the letter carrier. It's not in the contract. It's a separate memorandum. What it is in certain post offices around the country, the Postal Service agreed voluntarily, without a new contract, to hire directly to career in these particular installations, but not in every installation, right?
Mhm.
And what I didn't realize prior to that day in Houston is that the memorandum itself is not in the new tentative agreement. It's not in there at all.
So he
It's
took it
not-
out.
So, well, they didn't take it out. They just kept it as a separate standalone memorandum. And the problem with that is that there's a clause in that memorandum that says either party can withdraw with 30 days notice. And now these post offices that are currently hiring to career letter carriers would revert back to hiring CCA, non-career letter carriers. And my question to President Renfro was, is this the case? And he confirmed that it was the case. And then the follow-up is like, why would we do that? Like, why would that be okay? Why would we sign a contract that doesn't at least solidify the installations that are in the all-career model, that those will continue until 2026? And he didn't really have an answer to that. And so the subsequent wrap sessions, I'm going to the mic to kind of ask the same question. But of course, President Renfro is like, you asked that question already. And I'm like, yeah, but the people here at this location
Right.
haven't heard that question or that comment. They haven't had the opportunity to think about this, because
Right.
in theory, you're going to the wrap session to get information about the tentative agreement. This is to me, a big
We're
piece
losing
of
you.
the tentative
Don't lose
agreement,
us yet.
So that's what happened at the wrap sessions. He tried to
go.
cut off my microphone he tried to cut off my microphone and successfully cut off the mic in 2 of the wrap sessions. The third one, one of the ones, which was San Francisco, the president of Branch 70, Ricardo Guzman, went to one of the mics and told him, look, dude, you work for us, and the brother here's got something to say, and he's going to say it. And that was that.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so
people
the
recording
fourth
behind the
one
scenes, brother.
the fourth was in Washington, D.C. What I did in D.C. was I just wrote out some of the things that I thought were relevant. That, look, these are some things that you should really think about this tentative agreement that you're not going to hear from the stage and from the dais. And I just handed those things out to the people that came to the DC rap session to prevent the whole, back and forth. You're going to cut off my mic. Look, I might not have told you orally what I was thinking, but I passed it out in writing. So the people that were there still got the same information, which is what I wanted. I wanted them to be able to at least know these things that they wouldn't possibly have known if me or somebody else doesn't bring them to the forefront. So, but unfortunately, President Renfro, he spent $250,000 of our dues money traipsing all 28 of us around the country. And then he told us we weren't there to speak or have any role in the rap session. And why the hell are you spending the members' money, making us come out to all these rap sessions? So I thought that was an indication of, the type of president he is and the respect or lack of respect that he has for the members of this union.
That's crazy. So I'm about to give this phone number out for everybody. So anybody that's, I don't know if y'all still watching, I need you to put this phone number down. You freezing up a little bit there, Mike. Also,
Yeah. See that.
There's one thing that I need to know. Like, do you believe, in your opinion, real short, sweet answer, that if you were to have drawn up a tentative agreement today, if you had the chance, do one today, and it wasn't Brian Renfro, would you have put some type of stipulation that there would be an immediate jump in pay? Because the way Renfro was putting it, oh yeah, well, you know, by the end of the contract, you would have got this, that, this, and the third, and by the end of the, so, but people are hurting today. They're not hurting a year and a half from now. They're not hurting 3 years from now. Somebody says, okay, I'm making $23 an hour, but shit, you know, this is not paying my electric bill. 27 would really help me right now. Would there be something in there that would, for across the board with all carrier, carrier is a carrier is a carrier. They put mail in the mailbox. Would you have put something in the tentative agreement to give immediate relief versus
Absolutely, and
stretch down
I
the road?
think that's what we worked through the pandemic, and this is the first contract post-pandemic. There should have been some type of hazard pay or immediate pay raise, as you say, that would have went into effect immediately. And the fact that they were not putting that on the table, we should have went to arbitration and fought for that right away as soon as we had the chance last summer, and not just delayed the process out this long. The other thing that to me is a slap in the face with this back pay. With the rate of inflation now, the back pay doesn't come with any interest on it.
Shit.
That's really, you know, we let the Postal Service hold on to our money, the money that really the raise we should have gotten. It should have been in our pocket. So they say, okay, we'll give it to you later as back pay. But when you get it later, you're not getting it with the rate of interest that comes with that late payment, which is basically what it is. Even if we accept the terms of the tentative agreement, we're not going to get back pay until probably 2 years after the contract expired, because the contract expired May 20th of 2023. And for 2 years, the post office is holding our money and we're not getting any interest on that money. I don't think that's fair. And that's another reason to go to arbitration, because I think a neutral arbitrator would give us interest on our back pay. I think that's only fair.
Yeah, you
Hey
guys.
Jay, this computer is going to die in about 10 minutes.
All right. Well, I just put out the phone number. I am pinning it for my first caller. I have the phone number pinned. I don't know how many you have. Let me see. Do we got somebody calling in yet? The phone number is pinned at the top. Unpin. Let's see. Do we have a caller? Expand the window. We're gonna let one caller in. Caller. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
What's going on? How you doing?
How you doing, Jay? This is Unconscious Thoughts. I was calling in. Just want to say thank you to you guys for doing what you're doing, and thanks, Mike Caref. I got a question for you if he's willing to take it.
Ready, brother.
Hey, how you doing, Mike? So Mike, yeah, I got a question. So I'll get right to it, and I don't want you to shoot the messenger, but if you could just hear the message, all right?
Yes, sir.
So it's my understanding that, you know, that there's an allegation that the integrity of our secret ballot has been compromised. So what I mean by that is that it's my understanding that there's a federal lawsuit that's going to be heard on January 10th, 2025, alleging that the Renfro Election Committee and the two companies that were actually hired, Mosaic out of Maryland and Survey and Ballot Systems out of, I think it's Minnesota, that they were being alleged to participate in a scheme to breach the ballot security, and basically that they put a number on the envelopes of the ballot, and they're able to identify which members voted in which specific way, and that basically it's going to be heard on January 10th. I think you might know what I'm talking about, but I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Yeah, so what you're referring to is Brother David Noble ran in the last election for national president, and he has brought forth suit alleging that the election was not, was not done above board. I can't tell you that I know all the details of his suit, although part of it is what you referred to, that somehow there was, an attempt by the balloting company to obscure the results of the presidential election in 2022. And it is the same balloting company they're using for this referendum on the tentative agreement. So therefore, if they did something wrong in the last election, then obviously we wouldn't want to use them in this one. But there is no evidence that I'm aware of that anything was done underhandedly in the 2022 national elections that would lead us to believe that this one will not be done fairly. And I do know for a fact that the people on the balloting committee, although they're appointed by the president, they are not people that universally think that this is a good tentative agreement. I know for a fact there's some of them on there that plan to vote no and have been encouraging other people to vote no on the tentative agreement. That's just their opinion. So I don't see how there would be any type of collusion or anything to affect the results of this ballot. But the facts are the facts. Let's see what what they have as far as evidence that would say that there was some type of something that was being done underhandedly in the way the ballots are being handled.
And so the ballot committee, they don't count the votes, right? They just observe the process of the votes being counted. Is that true?
That's pretty accurate. So the ballot company, the one in outside of Minneapolis, the ballot and survey company, they have these machines, right? So you'll observe the machine. So for example, they open up the outer envelope. They have a machine that can do that. So it pops open the outer envelope and it marks off who has turned in their ballot. So now you know that this person voted. And then inside of that outer envelope is a secret ballot envelope. So you know the person voted, but you don't know how they voted. So then you take the secret ballot envelope and you open that up and you put it in a stack with all the other ballots. And then you count all those ballots and you'll know, okay, out of this branch, we know that 100 people voted, 60 voted for yes, and 60 voted no, but you don't know how an individual voted. So that's the way you keep the sanctity of that individual voter while at the same time, tallying the results and that kind of thing. So you're observing on that balloting committee, you're observing that process taking place, but the machines and the apparatus that ballot company has is the ones doing the actual work. I would agree with you on that.
Perfect. So basically, if that case in court turns out to be that there were violations by labor laws for our secret ballot, can the tentative agreement be pulled back if it was voted yes based on those ballots? How would that work?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a circumstance that's never happened before. So how that would happen, I don't know. But if you say that if there is a determination on January 10th, these ballots are due January the 13th. I mean,
13th,
if there is a determination there's something wrong with that ballot company, then by all means, I would think we would take those ballots and divert them someplace else for them to be counted. I mean, we still have 3 days to do that. But like I said, that fact would have to be established. And up until this time, I don't think that fact has been established.
All right. So as a member, we could trust that the counting of the ballots will be the way it's supposed to
I think
be.
we can, but I don't know, man. I think we can.
All right. Thanks for taking my question.
All right, brother. Appreciate you, man. Hey, Jay, this thing is going to die.
All right, we got one more.
Unless
Let's
we
see
can
if
get
we
on the
can one more.
iPhone. You want to send me the link? I can try to get on the iPhone.
I could try it. Let's see. We
I don't
get
know.
one more question. Just click it on your iPhone, see if it works.
Brother, appreciate you.
Yeah, I kept trying the other link.
Hello,
Yo, what's going on, brother?
how you doing?
I'm good. Ready to
Who's
talk.
this?
Chooch,
Hey, how's it going?
it's going.
Talk
Ready-
to me.
How you doing? Huh? I want to ask the man. I want to ask the man about going into the future for an old chooch like me and some of the young bucks, and the influence of the union and their place in helping out the new ones, and like, really, not seeing a lot of progress in that area, where a carrier, that's working on the floor, working in the post office, trying to help out these new guys. They're getting influenced and intimidated by management hardcore, and they're actually siding with them, it seems like. So I need to know, like, if there's going to be a more, assertive effort to get, the new carriers, people coming in. I'm only one person in one small station. I would love to go out and be able to like talk to people more. I would love to be able to engage people more. But in this current moment, I'm just seeing a lot of people coming in just completely clueless. They're signing on to pay union dues, but they don't have a clue about the union. They don't have a clue about the contract. So we need somebody somewhere, somebody from the top who trickles it down to people in each local office. And now you're having the SNDCs all coming together and everything being consolidated. So I'd like to believe that it becomes easier when you do get more people under one roof. But we still got a lot of like small post offices out there like mine where people are coming in and, they just are, just kind of running through routes, skipping lunches, skipping breaks, listening to management teach how to carry. And it's not a good thing. It's a mess.
I think Caref's I think his computer died.
You got to be kidding me. You
Yeah,
got to be kidding me.
looks like it
Seriously?
looked like it died. Yep,
Come on.
can't make this stuff
I'm
up.
gonna. All right. I heard him say that, and I said, the fuck, we can't have computers dying when we're taking questions here. Got to be charged
Yeah,
up when no one.
we went on a little bit longer than because we were on behind the scenes trying to get it going. But
Yeah, no, I know you had some problems in the beginning, but who doesn't?
what's crazy is that we were live streaming and I never pushed
Yeah.
live. Ha! I was live streaming from one end and never pushed live
Nobody's
on the
perfect, but
button.
nobody's
Yeah,
perfect.
but
You're trying to coordinate something, with somebody who's he's about the biggest name, out there right now, besides old dickhead Renfro. And it's a shame. It's a shame that he didn't have his whatever's going on, why the computer died. I don't understand why he ain't anywhere near an outlet. Mike, if
he
you're
was
still
he wasn't home, to be fair. He wasn't home. He rushed home to get on here for the live. And he walked in after a long evening. He had a lot going on, so
okay.
I'll respect that on his end. But this was basically for you guys. Hopefully, I asked all the Wait a minute. Hopefully, I asked all the questions that were necessary to at least get some type of answers from him. Out of respect, I was trying my best to try to get as much information and see how it would be.
Bring him back, man.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there he goes. He back. He
Oh,
back in.
uh,
I was
you
having
back?
problem with this charger and it wasn't working, but it started working.
There it is.
That's a
Talking all
good.
that.
That's a good thing. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, no, man.
Uh,
I think I heard the question about trying to bring the newer carriers and the younger people into the fold. And Jay and I were actually talking about that earlier in the episode here. It's not easy, but we've seen where some branches and places have been successful in doing that. I think that you look at a lot of the local activities and they're geared, like things that younger people are doing. Those branches are kind of, they're doing things like you have a golf outing or something like that.
yeah.
That's not, for the most part, something that the younger carriers are going to be interested in. So, but you see where they've been successful. The branches are their own entities. They're not, the national union can't dictate to a branch what they do, but the members of the branch do dictate to the branch the way the branch should operate and things like that. So,
So let me interject while I
yeah,
have the fresh question. I don't mean
yes,
to be rude. All right. So there's a lot of people in the comment section. They want to know because we gonna be real about it. Some unions, locals, they're not like the locals from up north. Not all are perfect, but some local unions suck. They got people in there that are in bed with management, and we're gonna keep it 100. A lot of these people
Yep.
want to know how to oust them, why the process is so difficult to get rid of a bad steward. You know, if this steward is sleeping with the 204B and stuff like this happens nationwide. I mean, it may not happen at your local, 'cause people take it differently, take the seriousness of their job differently all around the country. But if I got a person that I can't go to and I don't know who to turn to, how do we situate that? If you're sitting up at the top, I understand.
I got you. Now, I know exactly what you're saying. We have to empower the regional offices. So the national business agent who runs the regional office has oversight completely over the grievance procedure. We have a national contract. So at any time, if any member feels that the contract is not being adhered to, and if the local union is not addressing whatever that issue is, then they need to step in and, open up an investigation and find out what's going on. And if necessary, appoint someone from outside of that office to come in and address that issue if it's not properly being addressed. I mean, obviously you have training and, I mean, like I said, you ask around about the things we do in Region 3 of the NALC. We do a ton of training on all different levels. We want to make sure our people are prepared. But I also, in the same way that I want people to hold me accountable, I hold them accountable. You step up as a union steward and as a branch officer, and I'm going to hold you accountable to make sure you're looking out for those members and handling those issues that do come up. And that's not always, that's not always a pretty conversation, right? But it's a necessary conversation, and it has to happen. Hey, this member called and they said that their issue is not being addressed. What do you say about that? What steps have you taken? Can you tell me when the grievance meeting took place? Can you tell me, where's the file on this? Let me see it. Let me read it. That kind of thing. So we do have.
So that's business agents that they would need to contact, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, no, they do need to contact the business agent, and then the business agent needs to fulfill their duty under the Constitution. We have two main duties under the Constitution. One is contract enforcement, and the other one is to make sure that people are following the Constitution of the NALC. So sometimes you have undemocratic branches, for lack of a better word. And then if that's the case, the business agent should step in. But the bigger problem we have is lack of contract enforcement out there. And when that happens, like I said, you have to have that discussion with that local union, either the steward or the president. And if there's a problem or if it's just not being handled right, you have to send in someone from the outside to make sure that that's happening. You've got a dues paying member and you have a possible contract violation, and there's no way to find out what it is until the procedures are followed and the grievances are filed. And hopefully that gives that person confidence that the union is looking out for them. Because at the end of the day, those members of that local union have to take control over their local. 2/3 of your dues money goes to the local branch. 1/3 goes to the national union. So with that 2/3 of the dues money, how are you guys spending that money? It ain't me, My role as the national business agent, or if I'm the president, I would be, working with those national business agents or over those national business agents and making sure that they're doing their job. But, the members of the union, we're going to encourage it. We're going to help them out, but they have to take ownership of their local union and take ownership of those finances of the local union and make sure that they're electing people that they trust and that are handling business on their behalf. That has to happen. So
They got to
like I
change
said,
the
I've been
culture,
a business
basically.
agent for 10 years. Jay, I've been a business agent 10 years, and we have a good working relationship with every single one of the branches in Illinois, except for one. I won't tell you which one it is, but except for one. We have about 35 branches, and I work hard at those relationships. And every member of the union knows that if they're having a problem, they can call me, and that's a good thing. And it's a good thing for me. It's a good thing for those branches because they know that I'm there to help them and support them, but I'm also there to hold them accountable in the same way that they need to hold me accountable for doing my job.
Okay, so somebody asked, why aren't the local unions not demanding Renfro to resign or strip him of his power like Renfro did to his vice president? That's a deep question.
Yeah, well, we have a process in the Constitution of the NALC, and that's you bring forth charges. And I did that, and there was thousands of letter carriers that signed on to the charges. We currently have charges against the president that he was negligent in his duties in his contract in the negotiations for the national contract. That basically he hasn't accomplished nothing in 20 months of negotiating. And we're gonna get an investigator, and we're gonna find out what exactly, he's been doing or not doing over this 20-month period. And if we think that he's been negligent, then we can go forward from there. But that's, any member could bring forth charges. It doesn't take a branch or anything. Any member of the union can bring forth charges.
Mike, Jay, can I jump in and say something here, please?
Go for
Can
it.
I just, all right. I'm seeing on here, Gabrielle in the chat here. She's literally asking, how do you find out who your business agent is? Now, that just goes to show that so many people don't know that you can go on an NALC app. You can go on the NALC website. You can type in who's my national business. And like, people do not know who their NBA is. And I don't know how long, certain people in here might be working here for, but I mean, I've been here 18 years. I know, I know the routine back and forth. I know who's who. I know who to call if something's not going good locally. I also know that, like, in this 18th year of mine, as you know, since we talked plenty, that, I've been experiencing some hell that I've never experienced ever. And, they ain't ever going to beat Chooch. No one is ever going to put me down and obviously just harass and intimidate. But unfortunately, it's working on a lot of the other people in my station. Like, I'm literally the lonesome dove who's standing up to management while everyone else is just kind of like really like fearing them. Maybe I got one or two other ones in there with me that are kind of like holding their ground. But that's the problem, is that like people are just like vehemently unaware of who their business agent is, who to call, who's my steward, it's I don't understand how, if people are on here and saying they're watching your videos and they feel very informed, they also are very uninformed in not knowing, again, your NBA is like the biggest person that you could call when you have a problem or you have a grievance, and they don't know how to find out who it is. So that to me is very bothersome. Like, and just goes to show like that the union, you get a sheet to sign up for, but you don't get told shit else about it. That's the problem,
Okay.
Mike, is
That is
that
a big
no
problem.
one, you get the money, everybody's getting the money, everybody gets the dues, but no one knows anything these days. I mean, of course, I've been going to meetings for years. I'm very, torn between the idea that I appreciate that what is being done now, where I feel like my local is standing by me and they're letting me speak my voice at the meetings. But I also see the meetings. We have 120 plus members in our local, and you know how many show up to the meetings? Barely enough to make the quorum. The quorum, 10%. Barely. They're changing the quorum from 12 to 10, Mike. That's how bad it is. They can't even get 12. Yeah, they can't even get 12 to show up. They want to bring it back to 10. That's not good. That's sad. 120 plus
So
members for
let me
5
let me
different
jump in
offices.
for a second here.
Yeah.
So Mike, what we got here is obviously all over the country, people have the issue where, just like, I mean, you know how the game goes. I'm in the beginning parts when I'm with safety, so I see them all come in. I see all the union guys come in. They shove the piece of paper in front of the people's face and say, "Hey, sign up."
Yep.
They have no idea what they're signing up for. And then, a few months later, I go and spot check a couple of the stations, and they're having issues, and they don't know who their shop stewards are. They don't know what the next steps are. They feel alone once they get to the station. Um, and That wasn't the case when they were
I hate
taking
that, man.
money.
I hate that.
But that is once let's just say shits and giggles, you're up at top. Is there a standard? Obviously, you know how it is at your station, but is there a standard um that would be, obviously you can't change every branch nationwide, but there has to be something put in place where every branch should be held accountable for something. Like, look, we're having too many grievances over here in Denver, Colorado. You guys ain't here. You're not doing anything. Down in Pompano, Florida, down in San Antonio, Texas, blah, 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 this place. We got to get you guys going because there's,
Yep.
you're taking our money. We're taking their money, but they're not being represented. I mean, is there something that can be done up top to help that or
Yeah,
no?
well, I think so, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but we do spend a lot of our time, energy, and resources in the regional office, going to all of the orientations, all of the carrier academies, and all of the conversions when they're converting from non-career to career. And part of that is giving them all the information we possibly can, but they all whoever's there representing the NALC, because the NALC does the organizing, like you say, the branch, for the most part, does not do the organizing. The National Association of Letter Carriers does the organizing, and we're signing these people up to our union. So now we're responsible, even though the branch is a separate entity and you can't necessarily control that, we're still responsible. And the way we do it, and this is, I would implement this policy across the whole NALC. We make sure we have a personal contact with that person at the point that they're joining the union, if it's orientation or the carrier academy or whatever, and you give them the information. And when they join the union, they get the card of, like in my region, they get my business card, even if I'm not there. And I go to a lot of them myself. But if I'm not there, they're going to give my card to that new member. And they're going to tell that person, you have a union steward, you have a local branch, you have a OJI, you have everything to help you out. But if all else fails, you call the national business agent. The buck stops with that person in our union. And that's the way it has to be. And like I say, I think we're pretty successful in that in my region. I'm not going to say 100% because nothing's 100%, but I don't think we get that feeling of isolation. I tell everyone at the Carrier Academy, you're out there on the route by yourself, but know that you have a organization of almost 300,000 strong that have your back and want to help you and keep you successful in every way. If you have any issue, any concern, any question, if something's not going right, you call us, you contact us. You have my cell phone number, you have the office number. You can find me on Facebook, you have my email, you can, reach out and make sure that we're doing everything we can to help you out. This is a fraternal organization. We're in business for one purpose only, and that's to help out our fellow letter carriers. And I think we can do that all around the country to the extent we're not doing it now. Maybe other places are doing that, but I know for a fact that all places are not doing that. And that's what we need to do, to have that uniform procedure in place all throughout the country.
All right.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I hate to hear that. I hate to hear a member of the union feel like they're isolated because they're paying dues and the only reason we're in business is to help them out. And why shouldn't they know for a fact that we're doing everything we can to help you, whether we can or we can't? Sometimes you did something that I can't help you with, but
right.
I'm going to try, I'm going to
The main thing is that they don't know who to turn to, or they feel like I said, they feel like
they're going to know.
Their back is against the wall. We're at the hour and a half mark. I truly appreciate you, man. I want to give you at least 5 minutes to get your message out there. Unconscious Thoughts gifted me this shirt. I have no idea what it means, but for anybody that wants a shirt like this, you go over to Unconscious Thoughts. And from what I understand, y'all have your ballots coming this week. What would you like to say? It's your time.
What I would like to say is, letter carriers, this is our time to stand up. This is our time to make our mark for our generation of letter carriers. The brothers and sisters went out on strike in 1970. They made their mark. They changed the law. They changed the United States Post Office working for the federal government to the new entity, the Postal Service. We went from collective begging to collective bargaining. We now have all type of rights, and people got all type of raises and a better quality of life as a result of the sacrifices and the efforts that they made in 1970. This is now our chance to put our mark down, to plant our flag, and to hopefully, if we vote this contract down and go to arbitration and fight for the contract that we do deserve, that we will be able to make some progress there. And, either way, we know that whatever happens, that we fought for something and we didn't just accept a subpar contract that we know is not acceptable. Every letter carrier knows that 1.3% is a slap in the face. Every letter carrier knows that the non-career classification, that no letter carrier should be non-career. We should have an all-career workforce. Every letter carrier knows that this contract is insufficient, and it's a complete slap in the face that it took 20 months of negotiating, 600 days to come up with this, what they call a shit sandwich, but we can do better. And the Vote No campaign is underway. It's already started. There's a lot of energy. They had 3 rallies today, man. They had a rally in Houston, Texas. They had a rally in near Arlington, outside of Dallas, Texas. And they had one in Cleveland, Ohio. That's just ones I know of. The members are engaged. Don't think that they're not. And this contract has woken up a lot of people to the fact that if we want something, we're going to have to fight for it. And that's okay. We're giving you all the tools that hopefully you'll need at the campaign website, which is carefforprez.org. Please go there, check it out, download that stuff, look at the videos, share them. The Vote No pledge card, I think, can be a great tool for you guys within your work location, within your branches. But whatever you need from me, just let me know. I'm here to help you guys. And let's get it in. Let's go.
One last question that just popped up is very, 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 very important. Maybe you can answer it. I had a few people sitting in the waiting to get in, but I looked at how much time we had on here. Did Renfro give himself a raise when y'all were still in negotiations?
Let's cancel that. So you can go to the union has to by law submit an LM report every year, and he made more money in this report than last report, but that was as a result of the fact that he was the executive vice president and then he became the president. And so there's an increase in pay from one position to another, but all of the pay raises in the Constitution for my position or anyone's position are pegged to when letter carriers get a raise. So when letter carriers get a raise, the same rate of pay for the top paid letter carrier, that same rate will be applied to each officer position. So the president's position didn't go up. I think it went up a little bit because the last pay raise we got was in the early part of 2023. So that was not a big pay raise, but his pay would have went up by that amount. That's just the president's pay. But like I said, because he became the president, previously he was the executive vice president, there's a difference in pay there. That's what everyone's looking at. And it looks like, he gave himself a raise, but he doesn't do payroll, man. The union,
I figured that, but someone asked if it violated
that's
the
one
Constitution.
thing that, look, I'm more than willing to hold the president accountable for the things that he has done, but I'm not going to say that's one of them.
Okay, cool. They just wanted some clarity behind that. Listen, one more time with your website for everybody.
Caref for Prez, CAREF 4, the number 4, PREZ.org. If you send us an email, carefforprez@gmail. If you want to be an organizer in your area, we'll send you the information for the Vote No pledge cards. Facebook, Caref for Prez. YouTube channel is Caref for Prez. TikTok, whatever. Spotify. Think about Spotify. A lot of the videos they put on Spotify because it's easier to listen to them without YouTube. If you got to close the window or whatever. But anyway,
Yeah,
We're out there, man. We're out
Yeah.
there. We're available. We're accessible.
that guy Chooch is he's becoming a shop steward, I believe in January. So he's been there 18 years, and this is the first time he's been involved just because of all this stuff going around.
Make sure he's going to be a good one, man.
Oh yeah, he's going to get he's going to talk a lot. That he going to do. He going to you know what? Just take whatever you want. Love him to
Right.
death. All right, Mike, it was a pleasure, man. Anytime you want to come back on and get your message, feel free. It wasn't as bad as you know. I everybody thinks I'm a little brash with it, but I just want to get your message out there. And everybody wanted to hear from you. They needed to hear from you, um, simply because they haven't heard from the other guy for so long.
Yeah.
That was a low blow, but you know, it is what it is, man. Again, I
We
appreciate you.
we can do a lot better. I've been surprised at how poor of a president Brother Renfro has been, and I mean, I'm just saying that honestly. You know, I didn't think I voted for him. You know, I didn't.
Mm,
You know, he wouldn't have been my first choice, but he was in the top, 5 or 10, or you know what I mean. Like I thought he'd be a
Right.
pretty good, pretty decent president, and that has not worked out. So, anyway,
it is what it is.
yes, sir.
A lot of people are saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Anybody that needs to reach out to Mike, please go on his channel and send him some messages on his YouTube channel. I don't know if he reads them like I'd read all of them, but
Oh man.
there's a lot going on there. But you got to understand, man, a lot of people feel like their voices aren't heard. So just answering these few questions means a lot to, the people. We're just praying that you stay the same when you hear we proclaiming it, when you get
Let's do
upset.
it.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Thank you very
It was
much.
a pleasure,
And
man. It
go
was a
on this
pleasure.
young man's channel, the guy that called Unconscious Thoughts. Unconscious
Down.
Thoughts.
Wrote it down.
There it is. Unconscious Thoughts. You got these out. You just send it to me. Love it. I still don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. But yeah. All right, man. Have a good one.
You too, my brother. Thanks a lot, man.
Yes, sir.
Night.
End stream. Bum.
That it? Get off.
End. Yes. End. Lord have mercy. That was long.